I've been thinking, 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 thinking about you. 아무리 고개 흔들어도 난 이 생각만 하고 있을 뿐.
I start in English for a very fast presentation of Roberto, and the reason why Roberto is here, and immediately I thank him to be with us for this short conversation. Roberto is an important director and artistic director at the same time, working for several kind of companies and institutions all around the world, especially in the field of the so-called circus, or new circus in particular. And his work is very important, not only as director and artistic director, but also in the field of training and education. He's still collaborating, but he was the artistic director of the Flic School, that is the main institution for circus education in Italy. So he has a very open view of what is the performing art all around the world, and what is performing art on stage, out of the stage, and in the path of education. I'm very glad to have him with us today for several reasons. One is that circus is the new discipline of Mittelyoung this year. So this is an important new, and I think and it's an important new also thanks to the dialogue we started with Roberto last year, and his suggestions, his ideas. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that Roberto Magro is also the artistic director of a festival close to us, that is Brocante Festival. Close to us in two reasons. One is that Brocante is a festival in Friuli Venezia Giulia, also not in the eastern side of Friuli Venezia Giulia, but in the western side, northwestern side of Friuli Venezia Giulia. And at the same time, because Brocante and Mittelfest are twin in summer, in the sense that Brocante, it's going to be in some of the same days of Mittelfest. Mittelfest is a little bit longer in days, and for this reason, and I'm at the third reason I'm very happy to have Roberto here, is that we will host a new creation of him during the next Mittelfest, in the opening of Mittelfest. And is an important creation because it's dedicated to an important Lithuanian poet, Mačernis, and it's a very complex creation between circus, music, and poetry that is called Vizios, that it means visions. In Italian, Vizios, it sounds like vizi, that is, I don't know in English, vizi, how is the translation? Is, no, I don't have the word. Interesting. I have to cover this lack, to supply my lack. And it's an important new creation for KONA's European Capital of Culture 2022. So these are the first important things to know as presentation. And now I want to start with a first question, more related to us, so the artistic direction. And the question is how Brocante Festival is born, and what is the idea, the vision at the end of Brocante Festival. Quindi ti chiedevo, Roberto, di partire proprio da Brocante e di raccontarci come è nato Brocante e quali sono le linee che lo caratterizzano, la visione che c'è al fondo, e come il lavoro naturalmente si è evoluto nel corso degli anni, come si sta evolvendo adesso. Tra l'altro, come dire, se non ricordo male, quest'anno festeggiate il 15° anno di Brocante, giusto? Quindi c'è anche questo elemento. Devi accendere il microfono.
Yes, ciao a tutte e a tutti. Hello to everybody. So thank you very much, Giacomo, for your presentation. And yeah, so as Giacomo already told, I come from a long journey inside the circus, starting from my studies in the National Circus School in Paris, then working for several directors and circus companies in France. Then I built my own company. And the name of our own company was Rital Brocante. That in fact it means in French kind of antiquity from the south, let's say. Per gli italiani in realtà Rital Brocante significa, tradotto letteralmente, antiquariato terrone. And because Brocante è antiquariato, and Rital è come chiamavano gli italiani in Francia in modo dispregiativo, no? Because yes, as I say the name of our company, Rital is the way how people in French, they were calling in a dirty way, let's say, Italian people. So from these companies, we had a lot of amazing experiences in terms of training and in terms of showing. And after this, and during this experience, just in the beginning of this experience, I remember, like now, I'm talking about almost, 20, 21, 22 years ago. We were a group of friends, of artists from circus and dance and music, with kind of same trajectory. And in that time, we were a little bit, let's say, tired about being part of a system. Because already we did all of us our big experiences with big companies and big festivals, traveling all around Europe. So we took the decision with our company, Rital Brocante, to invest our time and our artistic passion on a very specific project that was simply let's bring the shows in the places, in the villages where there is no apparently a culture of theater, a culture of dance, a culture of circus. It means in the places where there is no theater, like really a conventional venue, and let's bring our show in order also to make the audience of these villages discovering what was for us in that period what we call now also a new circus. So the beginning of this adventure was quite incredible, because we were really building a good show, nice show, big shows, but just for small villages. And we were traveling, knocking the doors of the majors, of the elders, like asking, can we perform in your village? And I remember, like now, the answer of some mayor, like, we don't have money, Roberto, I don't know. I say, we are not here for money. We are here just to push for our philosophy, that is to perform in the small villages. Okay, so do it, and I give you 100 euros. And I remember that after showing the show, they were like, fuck, Roberto, wow, what's a show? Sorry, I apologize. So in fact, for us, the beginning was quite strong, because we were trying to bring a very good circus show, but in a condition where people were really, let's say, surprised, and they didn't know how to react in front of these experiences. I can't forget when, for example, there was a very, very important dancer working with us, Martin Kilvardi, that he was working and dancing with Anna Teresa de Casmaker, Rosa's company, one of the biggest company in the world from Belgium. And this guy, he was used to perform, in New York, in Broadway, in Australia, Japan, Korea, Théâtre de la Ville in Paris. And when he was performing in the small villages, and all people were sometimes saying, come on, let's see the next. When the old people were like, we prefer circus to dance. What is this dance? we realize also how much these kind of people, they have a very honest and direct opinions about what you are showing to them. So we realize, for example, the necessity to bring the concrete into the abstract and to mix our language, our way of performing from the most abstract part to the most concrete, because people should understand what we are doing. So from this experience, that was we were running already. We did 3 shows between France, Italy, Spain, just small villages, and we started these experiences in my village, in Frisanco.
Because you are from Frisanco.
Yes, I'm from Maniago, but then I left Maniago when I was already child, and I have my house in Frisanco. That is a small village. We are talking about a village of 130 people in the north of Friuli. So, and we started this experience from there, and voila. And then we had kind of tradition to come back each year to Frisanco and the other small villages around Frisanco. Villages with 40 people. I'm talking about a show like we were in the beginning 10 or 12 people, and we were performing for 40 people. That they were bringing their chairs from the house. I mean, it was incredible, this experience. So after this, talking with the major say, "Oh, Roberto, fantastic what you did, but why you don't do something a little bit bigger with maybe other companies, etc., etc." So then I make this promise with him. Okay, from now I bring my energy to organize a festival. But the name of the festival should be somehow the same name of the company. So we keep the name Brocante like a legacy of the experience of our company, Rital Brocante. And we keep, I started to keep from the beginning the same philosophy. So from the beginning, the festival has a very specific goal, that it was to bring circus show in extraordinary venues like forest, small villages, small places, small houses, small streets. The philosophy was to collaborate constantly with the inhabitants in all the types of collaboration that were possible, from helping the old ladies to go to the supermarket and buy the food, to make an improvisation for 2 old people that were just sitting in front of their house, voila, living in the house of the inhabitants. So we keep this philosophy, and another important part of the philosophy was and is still the volunteer act of the people who participate of this event. So this was the beginning of the adventure, and I remember at the beginning we were maybe just 20 artists, like 2 days, 3 shows, and then little by little, this festival that already is not a festival, we call it a meeting, because the word festival doesn't fit anymore with what we do. So we call it a meeting, international meeting of circus artists. So from 20 artists, we reach the top of 225 artists 4 years ago, coming from all around the world, from Mauritius, Iceland, Costa Rica, Japan, United States, and so on. I don't know if we had some artists from the moon, but
I have a question. How much is the people living in Frisanco and other villages around are involved in all the festival, considering that you are bringing more people than the people really live in Frisanco? That's incredible in some sense.
Well, it depends, because it depends of what we mean to be involved. For example, the characteristic of my valley, of the people from my valley, is that we can associate much more than to I don't know if I have to give you an image, to a rock than to a flower. So I'm talking about people who is very hard to, for example, to bring them on stage or to collaborate in terms of scenic element of, let's say, artistic representation. From the other hand, is this kind of people that if you need some kind of help, whatever you need, except to perform, they support you. No? But because, as you say, Giacomo, we celebrate this year the 15 years, I have to avoid that the children that they start to be in to watch Brocante and to wait also, because you have to imagine in this village we have nothing, so people are waiting from September the arrival of the artist in July. No, so they are waiting almost 1 year. I mean, they take two months to digest, but still till Christmas they still post pictures on Facebook and they remember what they saw. But already from Christmas, when I come back, they ask me what news, what about the next Brocante, etc., etc. So the children's, there are a group of 10, 12 children that they grow up with Brocante. So actually they are adolescent, they have 16, 17, some of them 18 years old, and they start also to perform. So we have this kind of new artists, new inhabitants that are the children of Brocante, and they are absolutely not afraid to help me to be on stage already. Yeah, we did a movie with them, they performed last year. And whatever I need to ask them, I know that we always reply with a lot of enthusiasm and passion, and they will say yes. So this is also this new aspect that was absolutely unexpected in the beginning, that the children who were growing constantly in touch with this artist and with this big event, they are completely different in terms of approach with the artists. So they don't feel absolutely afraid, they don't to be on stage, they are really curious. They took also for 10 years the circus classes during the summer with some of our artists, and and I hope that one of them also can continue the career in circus. There is one girl that she's doing a lot of acrobacy, and so yeah.
Yeah, it's like the village grew up with the Brocante Festival in the last 15 years in some sense.
But when you are invited, let's say when you receive 250 people in a valley, the entire valley is composed by 340 inhabitants. When you receive 10,000 of people coming to see the performances, of course, it changed completely the vision of the valley, because also the feedbacks of the foreigners people are super important. This is something that it happens also to me each time when I invite some friends to my village and I receive this kind of feedback. This is nice. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this house is nice. Oh, this forget sometimes that there are a lot of nice things in your village. So also the artists and the audience, they bring a kind of new energy. They refresh somehow the area. And yes, also the other important element is that we try to create performances in the forest, in some very site-specific place that some of the audience even didn't know it. So we are also making discovery in the valley to the inhabitants. So this it creates, a lot of relationship with them. But as I told you, if we have to write kind of diagonal, we can say all people they help us hosting the artist. People like 50, 60, they help us for kind of logistic aspect, etc., etc. Some women and men, they also help us in the kitchen, on the cleaning, etc., etc. And the adolescent, I mean, the generation from 20 and 40 is sometimes they are not there, or they are coming, or they come just for the party, But then we have the adolescent that they are really involved also artistically talking, and then we have the children that they have their t-shirt Brocante and they are waiting for Brocante in order to have some nice story to tell to their classmate when they will be back at school.
And okay, I have another question, but obviously if all the other people have any question for Roberto, make. Okay, okay. So if you want, you start and you do it. Meanwhile, I go on. And I have this other question. And when you have to think about a new edition of Brocante, how do you think about the program, the kind of performances? Do you have any kind of way or general lines in order to make choices? And how do you work? This is the
Well,
in ideas.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe I have to start with also the how Brocante. What is the place of Brocante inside the other European circus festival? Brocante is the place where you absolutely don't know what you are going to see. And is the place where, for example, since 3 years, we decided to don't do any kind of shows, but just to make creation made by the accounting between circus people, music performers, and dancers and performer artists, etc., etc. So for me, since the beginning, was important to leave to myself as a director, but also to the people who collaborate with me, the totally freedom, because also we are volunteer and they are volunteer, the totally freedom to do what we want. So since the beginning, I refuse completely the idea of to have a line or to, I always say, Brocante for me is the best moment in my life because I can do whatever I want. So if I see a nice tree and I know that there is a nice guy who is dancing normally with a partner, I ask to them the night before, can you go there tomorrow at 5 o'clock and hug a tree and make a dance for hugging tree, dance, improvise. Look, there is a pianist, can the pianist can go, or maybe just talking, there is a pianist coming that say, I hear your idea, Roberto, can I come and can I play for this? Fantastic. And maybe then there is a dancer who come and say, wow, fantastic, can I go and just sit on top of the piano? So a lot of creation that we did and a lot of edition of Brocante were made like this without any previous idea. And yeah, just working a lot in terms of sensitivity and with also the specific characteristic of Brocante that as a director, I know all the artists because or I work with them with their shows, or I teach to them when they were in the school, or we were part of some common project. So actually all the people who comes to Brocante are somehow my friends and are also people that they did already something important with me in terms of pedagogy or artistic shows, etc., etc. So there is kind of confiance, there is kind of, specific, very specific relationship between us there. So the artists already, when they come, when they come, they know that they don't know, and they are ready to jump sometime into some crazy adventures that honestly I have to say sometimes we did really some crazy things like building a show in 3 days, fighting against the rain or against my decision to do it inside of a cavern. We far from everything, from electricity, or in the top of the forest, or as Francesca saw it last year, inside big rocks. I mean, so sometimes it's really hard also physically to follow this. But since 3 years, Giacomo, in fact, since the pandemic, we decided to take a line. The first line that we choose was during the first year of the pandemic restriction, where all the festival were obliged to stop their programs and so on, so on. So I was confronted to this, to this drama, like I cannot invite circus artists from abroad because the Frisanco was somehow asked me also not to don't do any kind of event. And at the same time, I was thinking just about the inhabitants. I was thinking, yes, but I have any way to do something for the inhabitants and how I can make something clear for the inhabitants and for the circus artists that Brocante is continuing, but we cannot do any shows, so let's do installation. Yes, but which kind of installation? So okay, we need a line. Definitely, we decide that we can't work in this condition without a line. So in that time, I was starting to build a line about the four levels of the consciousness, and was a goal because in fact, yes, people understood the line and people understood yes, our artistic decision to perform without artists. So the artists, the audience, they were artists, and we create installation that they were able to move by themselves, etc., etc. So it was kind of a huge gallery inside the nature. Let's say like this. And so the legacy of this was that also last year, my collaborators, they asked me, but Roberto, it's super interesting to have a line. In fact, can you suggest another line for this year? So again, I started to think about a line. So again, I propose a line, etc., etc. But already this year that we are on the third year, I'm tired to have a line. So I want to come back to the totally freedom to, of course, it's harder for my collaborators and even for me, but I feel the necessity to have at least 70% of the shows, yeah, unique. And I really don't want to this year to have a line, even if we have kind of course, main idea about which kind of characteristic will have Brocante this year, but I come back to the idea of totally freedom.
No, it's clear also. I think that you said before that in some sense, more than a festival is also a meeting of artists, and in this sense, the fact that you have a really blank space to be filled up with what it comes during the Brocante festival, it makes a lot of sense. And is interesting also for one reason. I think about the young group of curators that they are approaching what is the question of artistic direction, is the difference between a more institutional festival like Mittelfest in this case, or Brocante, that it starts from a desire, an idea, a time also of freedom needed by an artist or a group of artists. It's very different, but it's interesting how much a project like Brocante made kind of connections with people of villages. This is very interesting in the sense that things happen when you start to make something. That is very, very important. It's not the result of a project. It's the result of connections and relations. I don't know if I was clear in English in what I wanted to say, and I don't know what you think about it, Roberto.
Well, I think that a festival is like a show. I mean, or it's like a love story. It's like a night under the stars. Everything is possible. You can enjoy a cloudy night. You can enjoy a a night full of rain or full of snow. You can enjoy a night with stars. Like a love stories, you can be in love with someone without knowing why and when you meet her or him. You can be in love with someone because it's the love of your life, and since when you are a child, you know that it's the love of your life. And it's the same for the shows, and it's the same for some movies. You know, we have the totally freedom to do what we want. The most important thing is to have a philosophy behind, is to have a clear idea about your position in the world and your position in terms of creator, because I still think that a festival is a creative moment. It's not just a purpuri or just a location where you can go and see the shows. If it's the case, maybe it's not a festival, it's just a program of circus. For me, the word festival, again, for me, the word festival is like the word dramaturgy. Is like, I don't understand anymore what it means. So I prefer to don't use it. So for this, we call it meeting, no? But as artistic director, I can really assure you that there is absolutely no one rule about how to start the things. There is absolutely no one way about how to do the things. And Brocante is an example. We succeeded to do at least 8 or 9 editions without any counts of external funding, except the money that we were gathering during the performances and the money that we were gathering between us. Starting from myself, I was investing a lot of my money, of my time, of my holidays on this. That was for me not only a dream, but was also a necessity to make that people understand the necessity to just be together and do something. You can call it crazy, you can call it funny, you can call it extraordinary or unconventional together. And also, I think it's important in our life, where, especially in our artistic life, where you are all the time solicited to do this, and this, to have a moment of freedom when just you decide by yourself. I go as a volunteer somewhere in the mountain and I do what I want, and I enjoy to be with other 200 people that think the same. Of course, we are not called. We don't have to imagine kind of freedom, people naked on the street and dancing naked. No. With a specific artistic direction, with a specific also rules between us, but with this amazing pleasure to do exactly what we wanted to do it. And to finish, I think that if each one of us can really find in his world, not in the world, but in his world, a moment where he can really express himself or herself, doing what she thinks that is important for him or for her, we will have much more brocantes in the world. We need just to take more risk. And if it's not an economic risk, an artistic risk, and if it's not an artistic risk, an economic risk, and if it's a sociological risk, I don't know, but we need to take a risk. And people sometimes they say, but you are crazy, Roberto, how you manage to? Yeah, I like to take risks, and I can't imagine a world without risk. And each one also has to feel comfortable with his risks. And in circus, what we do, we work a lot on the subliminations of the risk. We enjoy the risk. We live every day constantly with the risk, and we transform the risk in a challenge, and the challenge in a possibility to go further. So that's it. And the other important thing is, once you feel that you are sitting on top that is comfortable, then stop it and change it. Because the other, they start to feel it also. And people start really to sit. I like when people are standing. For example, in Brocante, since 2 years, people are not sitting. People has to walk and has to stand to see the shows. So don't sit. I mean, for a pose, if you need a pose, yes.
No. In general, I agree with you. The question is that this kind of living. This is not only a job; it's a way of living at all. it's related with risk. When there's no risk, you just repeat yourself, and it doesn't make sense. Obviously, what you say is true, that about circus. The risk is inside the discipline of circus at all. This is true. And I want to ask you, going to a next step, I want to ask you how big is the difference in a situation of work and a project like what you do for CONAS, in which you are in a very different situation as from Brocante, because a European capital of culture is also a very complex and defined system of production. And how it is your experience in that situation? I think it would be interesting to know from you. It's another important side of your job.
Well, after 15 years of Brocante, we start to have also kind of knowledge how to build a multidisciplinary performance in the nature outside the conventional venues. So this was the beginning also of my relationship with CONAS Capital of Culture 2022. They were really interested about Brocante Festival and about our philosophy and our way to work with the community. So one of the most important aspects of typical aspect of CONAS Capital of Culture 2022 is the strong presence of the community inside the program of the capital. CONAS is made by 25 districts. So each district then has a lot of small villages, etc., etc. So they asked me to to collaborate with them in these terms, so to make shows and to bring culture and art in the villages where there was any kind of venue, artistic venue, or possibility to perform, etc., etc. So we started 5 years ago with an experience in a small village called Lix-Maclenis, where we succeed to bring 12 circus artists plus dancer, and we make a nice work with inhabitants. We were dancing with old people, doing acrobacy with the teenagers, and we were teaching in the school how to do circus with the small children from 3 years old. So the first year I create kind of system like Brocante, but with much more participations of the inhabitants inside the performance. And after this, the legacy was, okay, Roberto, we see the strong impact of this kind of work also during the year inside the community. So we will ask you to do it for other communities. Unfortunately, during the pandemic period, I was writing a show, call it Vitas, but we cannot do it, and we involved like 5 communities behind behind the story of a prince that was escaping from his castle with a horse, and the audience was following him with the bicycles through the 5 villages. With orchestra, dance in the forest, etc., etc. But with this was unfortunately stopped. So last year they asked me to write and to create a show to perform in a forest, in 3 different forests. And I start to make a research, and I discover the beauty of the poetry of Macernis, that is compared to kind of poets like like Edgar Allan Poe or H.P. Lovecraft, but mostly like Edgar Allan Poe. So I get in love with Macerni, and also with the Ciurlonis, that the most famous composer, musical composer, but he's also a painter from Lithuania. And Macernis and Ciurlonis, they were like in the same period, from They died when they were young, and they were living from the beginning of the 19th century till they died around the 40s. No? So I was attracted by this specific timing of our history by the two poets. So I push far the idea of multidisciplinarity, working with marionette, dance, circus, music, and performance, and land art. So we took this this risk really to create a show mixing all these disciplines and working a lot with the inhabitants. I ask a lot to the participation of the inhabitants in terms of really of artistic engagement. And this was fantastic. We performed it in 3 different forests. The shows was never the same because each forest brings, new aspect to the performance, new distances between the stations. And we created this itinerary performance that is a performance around 1 hour when the audience is invited to enter into the poetry of Macernis, but making a walk in a forest and enjoying also the multidisciplinary languages that we are using inside the performance. So this is the origin and the development of Vicios. And now we are really glad and happy that we can also travel with this performance and meet the Mittelfest and Brocante. And what is also important to say is always the legacy. The legacy of this experience, for example, is that the 3 villages, they wanted to, because each time we go in a forest and we transform the forest, because we have to do path, we have to do the land art, and the villages, they really asked to us to don't destroy, to keep it like this. And the last village, they wanted also the marionette for all the summer, because the children, they were playing into the forest for the entire summer. So the legacy of what we do something in contests where people are not used to be involved in some artistic project is super cool. It's super cool because you don't know then what it changed in fact in the mind of the people. What I know is that I'm not an architect and I'm not an engineer, so I will never propose my name to build a parking or to a new shopping center. But what I like is to build relationship, to build artistic bridges between the people, because I know that we have behind each one of us, and I'm talking especially thinking about the inhabitants, there is desire to be someone different. And the possibility that we give to them to be for a night someone different, or for example, just to see for a night their forest from another point of view, I know that it changes something between them, inside them, and between them, and also in terms of relationship, because you are not the same when you do this kind of experiences. So it's super important also to keep in mind the legacy of this experience. And just to finish, you have to know that the legacy of what we did 4 years ago in this Links Macanis village is growing and growing. I mean, we have, for example, 5 adolescents of this small village that was completely, no one know this village in the past. Well, they are doing the circus school in Lithuania right now. And and the people people go to this village to see the village. Then I have to explain you more the story that we built with them. But the legacy is super important. The legacy is super important. Because when you work in the big cities, you don't see so much the legacy of what we do. Just in terms of statistics, it's quite impossible to go behind all the audience that comes to see your shows. But in a village, when you have 100 people and all 100 people come to see the show and they talk about this and they are also involved in, of course, you change something on them, of course.
yeah. That's true. Also, in my experience, it happened, and that's what is interesting in what you're talking about is that the two paths that you told us are very different as kind of paths, but the approach you have to the things is still similar, and I think it is interesting in this sense. Because it gives a kind of continuity of a vision of the things, and how they can be made in different situations, and I think is a good point to hear for a young audience like we have here. Yeah, I always hope to have explained in the right way in English what was my point. That's it. So it's almost 10 minutes to 6. So if you have any question to make to Roberto, this is the right moment to do. Because then he has to go.
I have a question. In the beginning, you were talking when you started the project that you had to go, I don't know how you phrased it, but from abstract to concrete. Maybe can you elaborate on this thought that somehow into the dialogue with the audience and the idea of abstract and concrete?
Mm-hmm. 30 seconds. Can you introduce yourself, Sarah?
Hello. I'm Sarah. I come from Czech Republic. I live in Germany, and I'm a dancer and choreographer.
Dobry, Sarah. Dobry.
And I know Martin very well, so it was nice to hear about him.
Super.
And she won Mittelyoung last year.
Yeah.
Dance Mittelyoung.
Yeah, dance Mittelyoung. Yeah.
Well, so ahoy, and
Dobrý večer.
Well, Sarah, there are for me these two big dimensions, no, the abstract world and the concrete world, no. We do a lot of training also in order to combine these two worlds, just in order to find kind of inspiration inside the concrete dimension from the abstract dimension, and some inspiration from inside the abstract dimension from the concrete inspiration. What is abstract from me? Honestly, let's talk really a bit technical. No, tempo is abstract, rhythm is abstract, levels are abstract, texture is abstract, dimension are abstract. We stay inside the texture, no? To be liquid is abstract. To be like a taping machine is abstract. Then, what I like really is the concrete gesture. For example, if I have to be really concrete. If I have to be technical talking. Directly into the point. So, and for me, concrete are all the naturalistic gesture that we do. So this is concrete. And if I think concrete, I think something that has a specific objective. Like if I have to sit in a chair, my objective is to sit in a chair. If I have to, I don't know, to use my shovel to make, this is concrete. So when I say always, but it's not Roberto Magro, absolutely. It comes, for example, from the biggest idea of Etienne de Croo, the father of the dramatic mime, that he starts always from a concrete gesture, and then he brings the abstract into the concrete. And maybe because I did 3 years of mime in his school, I really enjoy this constantly dialogue between abstract and concrete and abstract. Then talking about the performances, yes, I I work a lot with a lot of abstract artists that they don't care at all about the concrete aspect, no? But then I realized that to bring them in a context like Brocante doesn't work at all, because old people, young, Sarah, is even not true. You know why? One time, I remember 10 years ago, old lady is 93 years old, Irma. She told me after performance of a French improviser group, like, oh, you know what, Roberto, it was boring. 93 years old without any experience of performing. And I say, yes, Irma, why? The rhythm was flat. I that the audience are from these villages. They are also sensitive to the abstract contract, no, abstract aspect, but they need something concrete. The most simple thing, they need to be watched. They need a certain time. They need a certain also of relationship with them, no, etc., etc. Yeah, and honestly, there are a lot of artists that after their performance or their implication in Brocante, they change it also their way of performing because they realize how far they were from the audience. For example, you know, this is the typical, no, umbilical aspect. No, you can be far pushing far the abstract side, but you can be far also going too much into your bellies. So in Brocante, no one can talk about himself. No one can bring kind of very performance. Doesn't work at all. I always say because we are not interesting. But so this is also another way to go far from the audience, to think too much about ourselves. So voila. So Brocante also brings these kind of questions to the artist after, no, when where I can do I am doing really something from the others when I performing, or etc., etc., etc. Sorry, I went a little bit far, but this question inspired me a lot. I hope you understood my difference between abstract and concrete.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's my
because I work a lot with the dancer. It helps a lot the dancer to bring the concrete into the abstract. Because otherwise, then the concrete is always a concrete, and the abstract is always. So we don't care about how to sit in a chair. No, how to sit in a chair is important.
Mm-hmm.
Not just when you go out from the chair and you start to dance. No, even when how you watch the chair, where you put the chair on the space, how you sit on the chair.
Where is the chair in relation to the audience? The color of the chair. I discuss a lot with some musicians, friend. Yeah. I see you. Roberto must go now.
4 minutes. I have 4 minutes.
Okay, 4 minutes.
There is another question.
Another question. If somebody of you has, it's the last moment you have right now. Oh, the other guys, okay. You are quite in silence today. But no, what I wanted to say, in thanks to Roberto, no, it's very important, this point about abstract and concrete, because this is the point of theater at all. Because at the end, the theater is concrete. And if you don't face this problem comes anyway. Yeah, so I totally agree on what you said again. And no, what I wanted to tell is that we saw Roberto today in Zoom, but we have the chance to meet him again during Mittelfest, the very first day, the Friday, because then Roberto must go to Brocante, so you can also meet him in Brocante if you want, because if you come to Cividale, then it's 1.5 hours to go to Frisanco about by car, and so I hope you can see Vizios and to understand in concrete what Roberto told us today during this talk. So I think it'd be very good. So if you want to come again, Sarah, come again. So Roberto, thank you very much for this talk, and see you soon.
See you soon.
See you soon. I was suggesting it's something else about this thing, but maybe Roberto, one thing that we should do is a sort of general agreement between Mittelfest and Brocanto. We didn't do it, but maybe we can do it. It would be helpful.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Ciao a tutti. Hello.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.